You are listening to the Body Charge podcast, and I'm your host, Sandy Sanderson. Welcome to the Body Charge podcast. Today we're going to talk about what it means to be an elite athlete and how to avoid inflamed joints in senior years. It happens all too often that the people who train hard in youth but don't seem to know how to reset and recover adequately end up with multiple repetitive stress injuries that wear out their joints. So they suffer more in later years, consequent to popular belief that they should be healthier and more mobile as seniors. My special guest today is Dr. Kathy Hoeft, a nationally recognized physical therapist with over 25 years experience, longevity educator, wellness entrepreneur, and founder of My Hummingbird Wellness. So welcome aboard, Kathy. Lovely to have you on the Body Charge podcast.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Sandy. It'll be a good time to talk. There's lots to do with all of us athletes that decided to do a little too much early in life.
Yeah, that's right. It's we think we're invincible when we're younger, our youth, we can just abuse our bodies and do whatever and, recover and bounce back. We're,
And we do.
we tend to be more flexible and juicy, but
That's a good word.
little do we know that we're setting foundations for what happens later in life. So can you explain a little bit more about the process of what's happening in the body when we overdo it,
Yes.
and then are not mindful about how we should be caring for ourselves to make sure that we're okay later in life as seniors?
Yes. Well, I'm going to give everyone a little bit of credit. I would say I'm 50. When we were training when we were younger, we didn't know all the science that we know now. So it's okay that you overworked then, and now we're kind of paying the price. But there are ways and strategies to make it so that it's not hurtful. But the big thing is this, now we know we need to make the muscles as strong as possible. And when we're young and we're growing, we have this tendency to kind of, you're right, rebound real quick. It doesn't hurt. Brush it off. You'll be fine. And usually in like 2 days, you're fine, even though it's a big injury that if we had now at 50 or 60, we unfortunately would be out and, on the sideline for 2, 3 weeks or even months because of the injuries. And that's really because of a couple things. When we're kids, we sleep better. We sleep more. Our parents make us go to sleep. They force us to eat. During every sporting event, they require you to have oranges at halftime and water and do all of those things. But the big thing is this. Our bodies, as we grow, as we age, we have this opportunity to strengthen and lengthen all of our muscles in a way that assists us with growing. A lot of us, how about you? I grew quickly. I didn't grow for a long time, and then all of a sudden I was 5'10", and I stayed 5'10" from, but I didn't grow until like freshman year in college. So for all of that period of time, I had a great opportunity to build muscles and to be strong. Then all of a sudden I grew, and it was like, oh no, what happens now? And how do I deal with my body? Because you kind of don't know where it is. So, the importance of it is something that's an everyday. I'm a big believer in you don't need to go to the gym for 2 hours a day to make yourself strong. What you need to do is something every day in order to make a muscle work or turn it back on and then to lengthen the muscle. And it's really important that we add all of our components to it. Sleep really does matter. Recovery doesn't mean you're lazy. It's actually you're healing. And I think as we age, the injuries that we've had in the past kind of lay dormant. And when they show their ugly head because we might have gotten a little lazy and not done the workouts, or we went to work and we started working every day for 10 hours, you really have a hard time kind of continuing with your exercise program. And then your muscle shut off. And guess what? All those aches and pains that you had younger, they kind of come back. Shoulders are the perfect example. They lay dormant for years. Then you go and paint your son's baby room. So you go and paint and you're like, "Oh my God, I've had no shoulder pain since I was, I don't know, 15. And now all of a sudden at 32, my shoulder's killing me." And it was the last straw. That shoulder injury happened when you were 15, but it doesn't show until we're 30 when we started to paint and we weren't quite in shape to do that. And we kind of went from I do nothing but sit at a desk all day to, 2 days of 8 hours of painting. So that's where those injuries kind of show up and kind of rear their ugly head. And it isn't that we did anything wrong. It's just, unfortunately, we stopped doing that everyday activity. And that's when it kind of shows up as we get older.
Yeah, so if you don't move it, you lose it in a sense. And the
That's
body has the ability to recover. So what you're saying is the muscles are really key to this process, keeping your muscles in good condition. So they not only contract, but they can relax properly, for which we need magnesium. So that's my
exactly.
specialty with
Oh,
electromagnesium. Over the years, we developed transdermal magnesium products because we're not getting enough from the soil, the food's deficient, and we lose excessive magnesium under stress. And it is absolutely a key to mitochondrial energy production. You need it to build the synovial fluid in between the joints that make the structured water slippery so that we don't grind, and wear out the joints
yeah.
from the loss of that fluid. So when you're stimulating the muscle movement, contract, relax, you're stimulating blood flow that delivers nutrients to all the microcapillaries, all the little end bits in that circuit, and oxygen and all the things that cells need to repair and recover. And water. Water is very important, isn't it? We kind of dehydrate as we get older. And then, as I said before, we're juicier when we're younger, but when we have this kind of dehydration, it creeps in with aging. Things stick together more, they grind together more, and then you're more likely to get repetitive stress injuries, right?
Correct. Yes. Repetitive stress injuries, the tendinitises, the bursas that are no longer filled with water. And that happens, you're right, not enough water, but also just not enough movement. Compression or movement of a muscle over an area provides more, you kind of suffocate it so that it will flush again when you unsuffocate it. So, that's why we do massage techniques or trigger point release. We're trying to make that area that's not getting great water or great nutrients and all the sliding filament of magnesium and sodium and all of the things that we want. We can do things now where we can actually do manual type work where we can hold that area and it's almost 2 minutes and allow for when we release it that all of that fluid then rushes through and then tries to energize that muscle or rehab it or make it feel better and more whole because it now has, once again, nutrients and water. Our bodies are made majority of water, and as we age, we tend to forget to drink water. It's just not what we do. And it's
Water with minerals.
Yes, water with minerals, electrolytes, with having all that. Now we have magnesium rubs. I use your products all the time because it is the one way to get rid of cramping. It's a beautiful thing to put on your feet before you go to bed at night, just to allow for the body to try to relax and to allow for the proper nutrients to be flowing through the body when we're healing, which is, the best time is when we're sleeping.
Yes, very important point about sleeping because that's when the body has a big clean out because we're fasting.
Yeah.
The brain cleans itself out, its synovial fluids, the cerebrospinal fluid, everything gets clean with a deep sleep, as long as you get a restful sleep. And then you wake up more refreshed the next day. Now, if you're not getting a restful sleep, you wake up
Right.
like you've got a alcohol hangover, but you haven't drunk any alcohol. It's like headachy and cloudy, and you just feel like crap. But when you have a really refreshing sleep, you just feel refreshed, cleaned out, sparky, full of energy the next day. So,
Exactly.
yeah, very important to get the housekeeping done, which leads me to another question about detoxing. Because
Yes.
as we age, we also accumulate more toxic waste products that aren't fully cleared from the body. They
Yes.
then present some kind of sticking point in certain parts of the body. And so another reason why we need to move the muscles is because it also helps the body expel those wastes, some of which come out via the lymphatic system under the skin.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit more about movement for detoxing?
Absolutely. I think that this is probably one of the biggest one, and this is detoxing from, yes, impurities that we might eat or that we're ingesting or that come in from the air, but also from how much workout. Let's talk about it. As us athletes, we have a tendency to kind of be busy, 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 and then we finally get to work out and we do an over workout. And we work out for too many hours and we tear and injure all of those muscles so that we can hopefully get larger and bigger and stronger, but that also creates lactic acid and that creates this ability for the body to be like, hold on, we got all these chemicals that aren't supposed to be in here, so we do need to detox it. And the best one to do is actually movement is my favorite one, movement and then manual work. So those are my two. So but movement in general, just gentle, not going for a speed power walk, going for a leisurely stroll, which we don't often say when it comes to exercise, but for recovery, a stroll is great. That's when it's great to just lay in the water and do gentle side stroke. And why certain gentle yogas are amazing, or riding a bicycle. It's probably one of the easiest and most non-weight bearing fabulous ways to allow for your body to get the toxins out. And where does everything go with gravity? Down to our legs and into our feet. So that's why, being able to move our ankles and our feet and our knees and our legs really helps to produce and move those toxins out because it has to collect in your groin. So if you're
And
standing and sitting,
lungs, you get a lot of oxygen. You
exactly.
expel wastes through your breath as well.
Exactly. It's the number one way you lose fat. I mean, it's the best thing. And what do we all do all day? We hold our breath. We're all worried and nervous, and life goes on in stress, and we hold our breath. The more you could learn how to deep breathe and actually use your diaphragm and actually expel all of the toxins and bad things and stress in your life out with breath, it's amazing. So,
Yeah. You mentioned
movement, breathing.
you mentioned yoga, and
Yes,
that works a lot with breath and the out breath of the bad stuff. And you breathe
exactly.
in the good stuff and you breathe
And
out the
breathe
bad
out the
stuff.
bad.
Well, focusing on the breathing takes the stress away, doesn't it?
Yes.
Because if you don't, you can, in the stress moment, stay stuck, stay locked, stay frozen,
Mhm.
and then nothing works properly.
Right. And I will say stress is probably the worst of all of it. Anything that we're talking about with toxins or why our injuries are coming out or why our magnesium low, the stress is probably the number one thing. I mean, our body does not enjoy working on high levels of stress and fight or flight for many, many days in a row. Shorten aspects and periods of an hour or two, sure, but constant stress is not good.
No, and so you see this accumulation of waste products from excessive stress, and
Mhm.
also over exercising can produce a lot of metabolic wastes if they're not cleared properly. And where
Right.
did they settle? A lot of the time in the joint areas, they're the high use. And so when we get these little micro injuries from high levels of use, we create an irritation in that area that tends to bring extra calcium to the site because it produces acids, and calcium is an alkalizing mineral. So we tend to see in the body, also in arterial linings, but also very pronounced in joint areas or areas of the cardiovascular system that have a high shear, high friction area, lots of movement, can get micro little damages,
Yes,
little
Terry.
scratches, if you like. And the
Exactly.
body puts calcium there because it's trying to neutralize the acids, get the pH back. But then the problem is with calcium, of course, it has a hardening effect. So we don't want things to get stuck and hard. We want the
No.
calcium to be cleared and go back in the bones,
Yes,
or it can make the
exactly.
bones stronger. And magnesium's big job is to control that calcium. But when magnesium is in low supply, we tend to get calcium overload, hypercalcemia. And that's when the body starts to turn to stone. And so anytime you have kidney stones or, gristly joints or, even scar tissue. That's extra
Mhm.
calcium in those tissues that are creating that hardness.
Yes.
So, what's your number one re solution for helping people to get unstuck from that
Yes.
hardness?
Yes, the art, I think a couple things. It's not just one. There's no, sadly, there's not one answer. It's a collection of all of them. There is the movement, of course. Manual work works great to try to push and lymphatically move things, but also to go into the muscle tissue. So you're correct. I mean, the calcium for sure. And we used to do it in injuries all the time when people would get kicked in the calf. It was very common that if they didn't come and let us rub, and it's not comfortable, to massage that bruising out of there and get that blood flow that's stuck in an area out of that specific area and help flush it out, it would create a calcium actual marker in the muscle. So then that whole concept of like I can't move, well, right? There's a bone in the middle of your calf muscle that is like little fragments that make it really hard so that there's no more sliding filament of the muscle tissues. And so, the combination of us working on you manually and getting a good massage. Massage is not for only, luxurious. It's actually a part. If you are an athlete, you know this, it should actually hurt. Someone is going to work on your body and move these fluids and move this lactic acid and help your body to clear all those crystals that you feel on the bottom of your feet. We have those in a lot of different areas. Even like women in between the ages of 40 and 60, they have a tendency to get fibrotic almost in their hips, and they have pain when they try to sleep on each side. They have a lack of hormones, and now they have, guess what, increased calcium that's the wrong kind of calcium in the muscles, irritating that bone area and creating almost a tendonitis. And, they're not able to flow. Nutrition becomes a big thing. Magnesium you're talking about, but just in general, the pH is correct. The microbiome of your stomach. What are we eating? And are you eating a meal that is actually going to be helpful? I do believe in that fasting component of not necessarily eating constantly all day. You have that sleep time where you're not eating. And if you can make it a couple more hours, that's excellent. And so that allows for the body to clear everything that's in there. And then when we do eat, that we eat something that is actually healthy, nutritionist, low on acid, high in protein, things that will actually allow the body to be at a better position to help clear the body when we have toxins and things that it's working very hard on all day long to try to get out. So, it's a combination of nutrition with massage techniques, and with movement, and I think supplementation obviously is always added in there to help with those bony blocks and the calcium. But when we hurt, our first instinct is to think, don't move it. It'll heal. And it's actually the
Avoid
worst
the
possible
pain.
thing. Yeah, if it hurts, don't move it. Like my neck hurts, okay, I'm not going to move it. Well, then all of a sudden in a couple of weeks, you're stuck doing this and unable to move your head because you've not moved. And it's the same thing for low back. It used to be everyone's like, oh, just go lay down for a couple of days and your back will be fine. Oh my God, please don't do that. Like, I want you moving and walking short distances. It doesn't have to be fast, really good sneakers, no barefoot. This is what's going to help it. Same thing with like a plantar fasciitis, like all these little chronic injuries that we all have and suffer from at some point in our life. Stopping the movement is the worst thing you can do.
Yeah,
Keeping that movement is the best.
you're so right. I was just thinking when you were talking then about people undergoing operations or even just childbirth, they get
Yes.
you out of bed straight away, like
Yep.
virtually. Come on, walk around, go to the toilet,
Yep.
go to the bathroom on your
Yep.
own.
You can't get discharged until you do all that.
Move that body, just move it. But they don't
Mhm.
want you to get stuck.
Right.
And so we shouldn't necessarily have the mindset of avoiding the pain, but gently going through, facing the pain head on and going, I've got to unravel this knot.
Which most of us are very impatient. We're like, where's my pill? I just want to be better. So unfortunately, slow and steady always wins the race. And the gentler you can go and the more that you go when there is that pain, the better you're going to be. I don't want you to go more into pain, but I definitely want you moving in a way that won't cause more pain. And it will help in the long run get you less pain.
And the good part about exercise, it also releases endorphins, which are pain relieving.
Yes. Yeah.
Conversely, ironically, It's one of the things that allows us to over-exercise and maybe overdo it sometimes because we don't feel the pain increasing from the injuries.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah,
but
that one's a big one for sure.
yeah, so we have athletes that overtrain and overdo it, and then, they've got a lot of work to recover because it does interfere with performance. So it's all about getting the balance right, isn't it? What does optimal performance mean?
Yes.
In context of how can I preserve my gifts, my talents, my, health at the same time? Where's that balance point? And we're not taught that really, are we? We need to have more education, I think, as children doing sport right from an early age. So I did ballet and, tap dancing and all those things. And I remember in some of those movements and dance moves, falling down on my knees and sliding. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, because I feel it in my knees now in my senior years. And
Yeah.
I don't really overdo it now, but I overdid it then. And it's exactly what you said. I'm paying for what happened so many years ago. But my body seemed to cover it up better then, probably because as we're younger, we don't carry so many toxins. We don't have so much in store. So
Right.
so we can bury the injury a little bit deeper.
Yes.
As we get older, we lose some of that buffering.
Yeah, but there's hope. I swear for all those that are saying, "Oh my gosh, there's nothing for me to do. I was too mean to my body early in life." It's not true. Now we've really learned you can improve. Am I going to say you might not have some aches and pains? No. But can I tell you that the majority of your life will feel better if you keep moving, it will. And that means actually if it's knees, let's take a knee for injury. If we know we have arthritis, if we know we've hurt your knees and we know that you kind of feel them and stuff, that's
They
where
get
strength,
creaky. They
they're
get creaky
creaky,
when you
right?
walk, which is super annoying.
It
It's
is, and it makes
meant to
noises and it sings a song. But if this is your knee, what we want to do is we want to create space. And that space may be gone because we might have some arthritis that's grown, or the cartilages might be gone or wearing away a little bit in there. But there's this beautiful thing called muscles. So if this is the top part of our leg, our quad, okay, and the humerus, what I mean, what we can do is we can actually contract and work the quads really good so that we create the space here, and we can work the tibialis anterior and the calves, and we can create the space here. Now I created space without doing any kind of surgery or without doing any kind of cartilage replacement, and you can create space. The problem is you have to do it from that day forward till the grave, and there's no stopping in the middle. And as long as you keep making those muscles stay strong, you keep the space. And
Are there
that's the
certain
trick.
ex yeah, certain exercises. Do you teach people to do that?
Yes, there are. So the best ones is really turning the quad on. And this is my favorite exercise for almost every single person who comes in with knee pain. And you can do it simply where you are. You can be sitting right now, and all you're going to do is kick out your right leg. And you're going to kick it out nice and straight. And you're going to pull your toe towards your nose, and you're going to make that muscle on the top of your leg nice and tight. And that muscle you're going to hold for 3 seconds, which it's now been 3 seconds, and then you're going to lower it. And you're going to do that every single time you sit. For all the people that say, God, the first thing I do when after lunch is get up and it's so hard and my knees are killing me. Guess what? Before you know you're going to get up, kick out your right leg 3 times, kick out your left leg 3 times, turn those muscles on, create the space so that when you go to stand up, you're not an old person. You are now standing up and your legs work.
Which is good for people with sedentary jobs. Like I'm just doing that exercise as you were describing it underneath my desk, just sitting
Yep.
here, and I
Yep.
could feel the squeeze. So
Yep.
I'm going to do that every day.
And you can do isometrics for everything. You have both arms underneath your desk, you press up. There's your biceps. You turn your palms over, you can get triceps. Put it on top of your desk and push down. Now you have triceps. You can do hamstrings by pulling that heel in towards your butt on the ground. There's the hamstring. And guess my favorite one, squeeze your butt, and your whole body should rise off that chair and then relax. And now you have literally done all the main muscles that help you walk, that have
It's good for
help
the
you have better
sciatic
balance. Right. And that where the most of the joint pain is, low back, knees, hips.
hips.
There
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
So
There you
you
go,
can really,
which is the core, isn't it? That's the core that you use for walking,
Right.
like basic movement.
Right. And basic movement is the one thing we all lose as we age. And shame on all of us that allow that to happen because you are totally in control of keeping it. You just have to do, you didn't have to go to the gym to do all those exercises, but if you did those exercises every day, you would be able to get out of your chair better. You would be able to stand longer and you would be able to walk better just by doing simple isometrics sitting in your chair. So there's really no excuses for any of us to lose the ability to do that movement except for our decision here to not do it.
Wow. So we can prevent disability in older age.
Correct.
That would be
Unfortunately, a
good.
lot of it is
Not
us
needing
not
a
doing the
walker.
work. Correct. You know, a walker, I love walkers. Now, everyone puts a bad stigma on a walker. Do you want to be independent or do you want to be dependent or have everyone try to help you in every minute of the day because you look unsteady? No one likes that. So,
Mm.
a walker is a beautiful thing. I wish people would see it as a positive. It is the most spectacular thing to make you safe and completely independent of anyone bugging you. Actually, it's great. It gets people out of the way when you're down the street walking in a store. People are like, oh, walker, get out of the way, let them have space. It's fantastic, but it makes you independent. I have one guy who's like, I really want to do it. Now he has one. I have a seat on it. He goes to his parties now. He doesn't miss cocktail hour anymore because most people, as they get older and they can't stand as long, or their legs are hurting, or their back hurts, they don't go to the beginning part of the party. They always wait for about an hour, go an hour late so they don't have to do the standing part because they know they can't stand for that long. So they just want to go to the dinner part. Now he can go right when the party starts because he can turn around his walker, put on his brakes, and take a seat. He can sit there, be with all his buddies, totally independent. Everyone loves it. And he can participate and be a part of the group, which is really the reason why we do all of this is so we can be with our friends and our family. And then we actually live longer and are happier. So I hope someday people will see walkers as it's a beautiful thing. It is independence, is what that four-wheeled thing is. It is
And
fantastic.
helps them get more exercise as well because they're actually
Yeah,
moving the body as they walk and
exactly.
stay steady. Yes, that's true. My mother-in-law, she's 95 and she uses a walker. But without the walker, she's very unsteady, very wobbly, and doesn't have the confidence. But when she's got the walker, she just focuses on that device and moves forward. And she does circuits of the house around and around and around and
Yep.
gets her exercise.
Yep.
And
And it's
she
great.
does feel more independent that way, not always asking for help to get up,
Right.
to move here, to move there. I think human beings just want to stay free, don't they? For as long as, they're alive, we
Right.
want to have independence. We want to have freedom and autonomy and control over our body. So, whatever devices that you need
Right.
to do that. However, there are elderly people that don't rely on a walker or any kind of device, the minority.
Unfortunately, yes. It's getting better though. People are really working on health span versus, lifespan.
Yeah, yeah. So I think, as our knowledge base increases, about stem cells and about, self-care and how to take care of our environment. So the environment of our cells. So you mentioned nutrition, doing exercise. These are all environmental tools that we
Right.
can use to support the body to do its thing in its own wisdom
Mm,
so that we can avoid artificial interventions. That's the point, isn't it?
it
But
is.
which always have side effects and which always have something negative about it. So if we can avoid that through good management and self-care, all the better. So good
Yeah.
on you for all the work that you do. Where can people get hold of you if they want to find out more about what you
Absolutely. You
do?
can go, yeah, to Dr. Kathy Heft right on Instagram, and you can write me, ask me any question. I often put in exercise every day regarding something. We've done hips. Tomorrow's actually how do you get up off the ground? My favorite tip to give everyone, and this goes along with those last 10 years of your life so that you're more active and not so creaky, is every day How do you put your sneakers on? Do you sit on the chair? Do you sit on the floor? The floor is where we want you to sit. And then every day, from the day you can start, you get on the floor, sit on the floor, and put your sneakers on. Tie them on the ground, and then get yourself back up. Because the number one fear of most people is falling. And most people, when's the last time you sat on the ground?
Um, I don't remember.
And that's the normal answer. So the thing is this, if you don't go down there, you don't know how to get down there. So every day we should all work on, even if it has to be right next to a chair on the carpet, so that you can hold on to the chair to put your knees down onto the ground, sit your butt right on that ground, put your shoes on, turn around, get on your knees, put your hands on that chair if you need, and then stand back up. And
I
if you
forgot to
do that
tell
every
you.
day,
I forgot to tell you, I do my yoga stretches at night next to my bed on the floor. So
Lord, there
I
it
just
is.
remembered I
See?
every day I'm getting up off the floor.
Yeah. And that's the thing is that most people just don't do it. Really, after the age of about, if you don't have kids, after the age of about 35, 40, if you're not doing sports or you're not doing exercise, you're not on the ground. I mean, maybe to get a plug up, but now we put plugs up on the counter. So we don't even have to go on the ground to do that. And so, it's really important. It's such an easy thing, but it does so much for us. It is so much strengthening, and it's all of the joints. It's your foot and ankle, it's your knee, it's your hip, it's your core, it's your low back. And if you're using your arms, it's your arms. So it's a full body workout on something so easy with no equipment needed, just on the ground. And it will really help to decrease the fear factor of if I fall, what happens? Well, if
Yep.
you fall, you already know you can get up. And
Yes.
that makes it way better.
You've trained the autonomic nervous system, the autopilot. Oh, I've been
Exactly.
here before. I know what to do.
Exactly. And that's, what a gift that is. I mean, well, no one wants to think they can't be independent and that they can't get up. And we all fall. It doesn't mean that you're old. It doesn't mean that you're weak. Sometimes we just trip because we have throw rugs, too many of them around the house. Sometimes we actually trip over the dog. I mean, there's a lot of things that make us fall, not necessarily that you're unhealthy. But if you can get back up, that's the beautiful thing.
Yes.
That's the test.
Let's all work on bouncing back.
Exactly. So,
Well, I'm sure a lot of people will get a huge amount out of this particular podcast because all of us are marching towards that end time. But we want to have golden senior years still full of freedom, still full of independence, and still full of joy. The joy of experiencing that freedom and independence and not being so dependent.
exactly. Exactly. It is the hummingbird way is all about the joy, and there's no excuses. But that free motion is really what we're all trying to do.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for everything.
Bye bye.
Bye.
I hope you liked this conversation and will share it with others. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. If you want to listen to other Body Charge conversations, click like, subscribe, the bell icon, and click all notifications. Subscribe to our newsletter to get updates on blogs, podcasts, videos, and magnesium special offers at electromagnesium.com.au. Relax, recharge, and recover.